And we're back with another birdie of the day. Two quick ones today. Both I believe I got in one. I'll have to remember once I see what the next bird is. But let's start with our first flocking birdie of the day. And remember, visit birdiegame.net to play your own birdie game.
Behold the birdie of the day. It's the birdie of the day.
Alright, jumping right in. This was a quick one. Didn't use the sound today, so none of that. No sound. Just peeped them feets. Why did I just peep them feets? Well, it's only a couple of birds that are going to have little feetsies that look like this. Now, first thing I want to point out, see that little toe right there, the halix? Highly reduced halix. So we know right away, not one of the passeriformes or songbirds, okay? Some people call them perching birds too. Not one of those. This bird with these kind of long, very distinct shaped foot pattern, that little reduced hind toe there, well, that's going to be a shorebird. Now, which shorebird? Well, plovers, we would likely see no little hind toe there at all, so not going to be any of the orange-footed plovers, our little orange-footed plovers with white bellies. So instead, this is a different shorebird with little short orange legs and feet with the cutest little fat toes and white underparts. And remember, what can you see? What can you hear? What's the context? Well, I didn't do anything with the sound today. What can I see? We already talked about the feet and the belly. What's our context? This bird, this shorebird, we know a shorebird based on the feet. This shorebird sitting on a rock. Now, other ways know it's a shorebird. Well, in this case, there's minimal to no webbing. There might be just a little hint up there. I can't really tell if that's just a product of the image or actually webbing, but most shorebirds are going to have minimal to no webbing, and this particular bird is an example of that. No real webbing to speak of in those toes, so it's going to eliminate, any sort of other orange-footed bird that would be standing on a rock. Okay, so we've got a shorebird standing on a rock with orange feet, white belly. You could maybe take a wrong turn down a different answer, but for this particular bird, you'll see why here in just a moment as I type it in. Ruddy turnstone. Ruddy turnstones are some of the cutest little shorebirds running around, and they actually will flip stones, little stones, or they'll flip shells over looking for food. That's where they get their name. So you'll see them running down the beach maybe, and oh, there's a little shell right there, and then whoop, flip, peck, and that's how they find some of their food. Now that our telestrator has caught up with the rest of us, let's talk about black turnstone versus ruddy turnstone. So you can see I typed in ruddy turnstone. I got this in one. How do we eliminate black turnstone? Because they can have that white underpart as well. And just based on that first image where we were just looking right there, that's all we could see. Well, black turnstones are rarely going to show that vibrant of a leg. Just based on that first image of the legs, that vibrancy, to me, eliminated black turnstone right away. And from just that little bit of clue, then I went with the answer that I felt best fit what information I was given. That's the bird from 7/10, July 10th. Let's go back in time and look at another bird that I did. We've done the third, so let's come up here to our birdie game time machine. And let's go back to the second. Oh, now this was a good one. This was a very good one, and I'm excited to talk about it. When looking at this bird, there is no context. Boom, right there. Any sort of, image context is pretty much eliminated. I did use the sound in this one, and when we do the sound, you're going to hear what almost sounds like some sort of Buteo sound or one of our soaring raptor sounds. That was both a giveaway and a feint. It was a red herring, or in this case, a blue herring. that sound, if you hear it and you know your Budeos really well, you would go, wait a minute. Wait just a minute. Wait just a feather picking minute. Ain't no Buteo sounds quite like that. That's because it's not a Buteo making that sound. It sounds like a Buteo making that sound, but it is no Buteo making that sound. What is it? Well, let's look at what we see. What I see here, I see very loosely textured feathers. Why do I point that out? Because in this case, highly critical, I see very loosely textured blue feathers. Blue is one of the colors in the bird world that is very unusual. It's not visual to us. It's not created. What we see is not due to pigment, but instead how the feathers are built and the way that the air pockets and the feather material itself interacts with the light hitting it and then what is reflected back at our eyes. So blue changes a lot. And when some feathers are more poorly put together, that blue is not as blue. So loosely textured feathers, to me, always shouts baby bird. I see loosely textured feathers, and immediately my mind went, hey, that's a young bird. What's a young bird that would look like that, have that much blue? And I'm using blue because an adult, if I believe myself that this is a young bird, an adult would look much more blue, like vibrantly blue. So if these are baby blue feathers, then I have to imagine what the adult would look like. Combine that with the sound, which was a faint. It's not the sound this baby would make. The sounds don't always match the individual shown, but instead what its species would make. And for those who don't know, our corvids are very, very sneaky in that they can do some mimicry. In fact, many corvids, especially our jays, will imitate the sounds of Buteos. And then the final thing I saw right there, that weird tuft, could be a baby tuft, but it looks intentional, and I thought it was the start of a crest. So, what was this bird? We'll come over here, and in one guess, I got that this was a blue jay. And not that just it was a blue jay, but that is about as baby of a blue jay as you're going to see. So this is a very, very young blue jay. It looks like it's still molting in its juvenile plumage, its babiest of feathers. And so you can see, okay, those are a little bit better quality feather, and so they're a little more blue. And then as this bird ages, when it molts, or when it loses those feathers and molts in or grows in new feathers, they're going to be much more blue. Baby blue jay. The sound at first was throwing me off, but combined with the information presented to my eyes, what could I see? And so in this case, no context. What could I see? What could I hear? I used those two. I narrowed it down to blue jay pretty quick. So the faint would be confusing if you've never heard or knew that a jay would make that sound before. I've heard it so many times that I can tell oftentimes when it's a jay doing a Buteo and not a Buteo doing a Buteo. And so that's just one of those things that once you know about it, you probably will never forget it. And next time a blue jay comes around your feeder and you suddenly hear a hawk that shouldn't be eating at your feeder, well, you might have an idea what's happening. So for July 2nd, we had a baby blue jay. And that was the July 2nd birdie of the day. 2 more birdies of the day gone. I hope you found them helpful in your bird ID skills building. 2 pretty common birds that you might be seeing, maybe some more than others. Blue jays, fairly common east of the Great Plains, and they are spreading west. And then for those who live on coastlines, seeing the ruddy turnstone, fairly common coastal bird as well. So 2 good birdies of the day that a lot of folks have a high probability of seeing and using those little tidbits of information to help them identify out in the field. Of course, there's a lot more to these birds to identify them that you can use, but based on what we were presented in the game, Now you know. With that, we will see you next time for another flocking birdie of the day. Make sure to visit birdiegame.net, which is floating around my face right now. birdiegame.net. And then please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure to turn on notifications so anytime one of these Birdies of the day from birdiegame.net drop, you can join in and see how you did compared to me and use those techniques for identifying the next birdie of the day. See you next time.
That was the birdie of the day, the birdie of the day.